Here's a psychology fact you're not ready for. The moment you explain yourself, you give away power. Most people think explaining makes them look reasonable, intelligent, or fair. In reality, it signals insecurity. It tells the world you need permission to exist, permission to decide, permission to act. And Niccolò Machiavelli understood this centuries ago, long before psychology gave it a name. Most people don't realize this, but your brain has been lying to you about justification. You were taught that if you explain clearly enough, people will understand you, respect you, and stop attacking you. That sounds comforting. It feels moral, but it is strategically fatal. Because power does not come from being understood. Power comes from being unquestioned. Psychologists call this approval-seeking behavior. And once you understand it, you'll see why you overtalk, why you defend your choices, why you feel anxious when someone misunderstands you. Your relationships, your confidence, even your authority are shaped by this single pattern. You think you're clarifying. What you're actually doing is negotiating your worth. But here's where it gets even worse. Every time you justify yourself, you train people how to treat you. You silently tell them, I can be challenged, I can be cornered, I can be forced to explain. Machiavelli warned rulers about this exact mistake. In The Prince, he makes it brutally clear. Authority weakens the moment it tries to prove itself. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. Psychology shows that people don't respect explanations, they respect certainty. When someone attacks you and you rush to explain, their brain doesn't think, oh, that makes sense. Their brain thinks, I have leverage. Silence, on the other hand, creates psychological pressure. It forces the other person to fill the gap, and humans are terrible at that. But here's the part nobody wants to admit. Most explanations aren't given to inform others. They're given to calm your own anxiety. You explain because silence feels dangerous. Silence feels like losing control. Machiavelli understood that silence is not loss of control. It is control. The one who speaks less forces others to reveal more. This happens because the human mind is wired to interpret behavior, not words. Words are cheap. Anyone can explain. But restraint is rare. Restraint signals confidence, self-belief, and dominance. Your mind thinks talking will protect you from judgment, but the reality is, talking invites more judgment. If that hits you, good. It means you needed it. Because this video is not about being polite, it's about being untouchable. Machiavelli's first brutal principle is this: never defend yourself against accusations that do not threaten your position. When someone challenges your character, your decision, or your motives, they are testing your emotional stability. If you react, they learn where to press next time. Silence denies them feedback. Silence starves the attack. Most people stop here, and that's the biggest mistake. They think silence means weakness, but Machiavelli didn't mean passive silence. He meant controlled restraint, strategic quiet, the kind of silence that makes people uneasy because they cannot read you. Psychology explains this through uncertainty aversion. Humans hate ambiguity. When you don't explain yourself, the other person's brain goes into overdrive. They project assumptions, doubts, and fears onto you. Often those projections work in your favor. You become larger, more serious, more powerful than you actually are. But here's the painful part. The more you explain, the smaller you appear. Over-explanation subconsciously places you in a lower status position. High-status individuals make decisions. Low-status individuals justify them. But here's where Machiavelli goes even darker. He believed that being misunderstood is often safer than being fully understood. When people fully understand you, they can predict you. When they can predict you, they can manipulate you. Ambiguity protects power. This next part explains why your life hasn't changed yet. You keep trying to correct people's perceptions instead of controlling them. Machiavelli teaches that perception is reality. If someone believes you are decisive, you are. If someone believes you are dangerous to cross, you are. Words rarely change perception. Behavior does. Principle 2. Weaponize ambiguity. Do not reveal your full reasoning. Do not share every intention. Let them guess. Let them speculate. The less they know, the more cautious they become around you. This is not about lying. It's about selective opacity.
Your brain resists this because it wants validation. It wants to be seen as fair and logical. But power is not a debate. Power is a posture. Here's the truth you've been avoiding. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your standards, boundaries, or ambitions. The moment you explain why you won't tolerate something, you invite negotiation. Machiavelli would say, set the boundary, then let silence enforce it. Principle 3. Stay silent under attack. When someone insults you publicly or questions you indirectly, your instinct is to respond immediately. That instinct is emotional, not strategic. Silence forces the attacker to expose themselves. They either escalate and look irrational, or they retreat and lose momentum. Psychology backs this up. Emotional non-reactivity signals dominance. The calmer person in a conflict is perceived as more powerful, regardless of who is right. But here's where it gets even worse. Explaining yourself under attack doesn't end the attack, it rewards it. You teach people that pressure works on you. Principle 4. Use strategic pauses. Machiavelli understood timing better than most modern leaders. A delayed response often carries more weight than an immediate one. When you pause before speaking, you signal thoughtfulness and control. You also raise anticipation. People listen harder to those who speak less. This happens because scarcity increases value. Words become valuable when they are rare. When you speak constantly, your words blend into noise. If you want to break this cycle, start with this habit. Before explaining anything, ask yourself one question internally. Does this explanation increase my authority or reduce it? If it reduces it, remain silent. Principle 5. Master your narrative without defending it. Machiavelli didn't chase public approval, he shaped outcomes. You don't need to explain who you are if your actions consistently demonstrate it. Results speak louder than rationalizations. Here's the mental trick that actually works. Replace explanation with repetition. State your decision once, calmly, without emotion. If challenged, repeat it without adding details. Repetition signals certainty. Certainty ends arguments. But here's where the nobody teaches you part. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is a message. It says, I am not threatened. It says, I do not need your agreement. It says, I decide. Principle 6. Let others talk themselves into revealing their intentions. When you stay silent, people fill the gap with words. Those words expose motives, insecurities, and strategies. Machiavelli believed listening was more powerful than speaking because information is leverage. Most people talk too much because they fear losing control of the conversation. In reality, the one who listens controls it. Here's the painful psychology again. Your brain equates silence with vulnerability. But socially, silence often signals strength. Leaders pause, followers explain. Principle 8. Never explain emotional decisions. Emotion invites judgment. If you feel something strongly, act decisively and quietly. Explaining emotions invites others to invalidate them. But here's where it gets even darker. Machiavelli believed that appearing inscrutable was a form of protection. When people can't read your emotional state, they can't manipulate it. Principle 9. Allow people to misunderstand you. This sounds dangerous, but it's liberating. Being misunderstood filters out those who don't matter. Those who matter will observe your actions over time and adjust their perception naturally. Here's the wake-up slap. You don't lose power because people disagree with you. You lose power because you need them not to. Principle 10. Speak last whenever possible. In meetings, arguments, or negotiations, speaking last allows you to absorb information, gauge reactions, and position your words with maximum impact. Machiavelli understood that timing often outweighs content. Psychologically, the last voice lingers longest. It frames the conclusion. And finally, Principle 10. Detachment is dominance. When you detach from the need to explain, justify, or defend, you become unpredictable. Unpredictability creates respect, and respect creates power. If you want to be untouchable, start here. Stop explaining your choices. Stop narrating your intentions. Stop defending your boundaries. Let silence do the heavy lifting. Because the harsh truth is this: The world doesn't reward clarity, it rewards certainty, and certainty doesn't need explanation. If this made you uncomfortable, that's a sign it's working. Machiavelli was never interested in comfort, he was interested in control. And control begins the moment you decide that your actions do not require approval. Remember this the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself. Power doesn't speak loudly. Power waits. Power watches. And power moves without asking for permission.